All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. I hope that you can hear me. If you can hear me, please go ahead and send a message in the chat window just so that I can double check, make sure my microphone is working. Is my microphone working? Hi, hello, hi everybody. Oh, okay, great. Ooh, my microphone's working. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. We're gonna today just go over the objectives of the program. We'll take a look at the schedule quickly and talk about what the expectations are and what you should expect from us as well going forward. We'll also talk a little bit about what social innovation is and why it's important and how it can help you in your lives as students. And then we'll hear from my good friend and an entrepreneur who has been active in the entrepreneurship scene and social entrepreneurship specifically for many years. His name is Titus, and he'll share with us a little bit later on. Look at why global teams are important. So first, I just want to share with you guys how awesome I think it is that you're doing this. I remember the first time that I had any kind of meaningful exchange with people from another country. And it was when I was in high school as well. And that was an experience that I still carry with me and that has impacted everything that I've done since then. I think it's really important that we share our experiences with each other, that we learn to see from another person's perspective, to stand in their shoes or walk in their shoes for a day. And I think it's really important that we also learn about each other's problems, that we learn about the challenges that we face, that we learn about some of these ideas we have for solutions. Tomorrow we're going to watch a TED Talk at first, and then we're going to talk a little bit about that. And so we'll go into a little bit more detail about what exactly I mean by that when I say we can share each other's ideas for solutions to some of the challenges we face. So for now, just going to go over the agenda for today, and then we'll go ahead and move on. So we'll have a welcome. That's me now. Then we'll have an entrepreneur's perspective, where Titus will share, and then we'll walk through the program. And if anybody has any questions, we can discuss that then. So first of all, who am I? So I'll go ahead and turn on my camera here so you guys can hopefully see me. My name is Nick, and I'm an entrepreneur here in Shanghai, China. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, and I started studying Chinese language when I was in ninth grade. And I was very fortunate that I got a scholarship from the United States Department of State to come here and study Chinese in China when I was in high school. And I found that when I was studying abroad, there were so many challenges that I was facing, so many unexpected things would come up. And when I was trying to communicate with people in China who come from a very different kind of background and have different ideas about the world, I found that to be very challenging to adjust to that. But at the same time, I found it very, very, very rewarding. And I found that since then, being an entrepreneur, that a lot of the challenges that I faced as a student studying abroad, in terms of having to adjust to new challenges very quickly, having to set aside my previous expectations and listen and learn from another person's perspective first, those are all the same challenges that entrepreneurs face in a lot of ways. And so that's why I'm here now sharing with you why I think that it's really important that we come together as students in the United States and as students in China, and we learn from each other, we share with each other, and we take a really, really good look at what are the challenges we're facing in our lives, what are the challenges we're facing in our communities. We share those challenges with each other, and then we take meaningful action towards solving those challenges using insight that we gain from our exchange with our peers. And so that's really the goal for today, for this whole program, that we will begin to do that, that we'll begin to share and to learn from each other and to take action. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera off and go back to the screen here. And let's move on and talk about what is social innovation. So perhaps first we can say, what is innovation? Innovation is creation of something new, whether that's a method, a process, a product, or even a way of thinking, a perspective, a way of looking at the world. Innovation, I think, has a really, really big meaning to it, or it's kind of one of those imposing words, perhaps. We hear it a lot. If we are reading the news or watching TV, we often hear this word thrown around, right? And I think for maybe a lot of students, they hear this word innovation and think, well, maybe that's something I can think about in a couple of years, maybe after I graduate from high school, maybe after I get a job, maybe after I have some experiences and accomplishments, then I can think about this idea of innovation. But tomorrow, we will actually talk about as well a little bit more what is innovation in the context of students, right? How can students be innovators? How can students create new things? And really, it's, oops, that's my alarm, excuse me. Okay, and really, it's not as complicated as you might think. At least not from a conceptual perspective. So we'll take a look at what exactly is innovation in a more detailed sense. But for now, let's think of it as creating something new, whether that's process, a method, a product, like I said. And so what makes innovation social? Social is a reference to society. What is society? Society, it's a collection of people who live together in an organized fashion, right? So innovation in society is looking at new ways of people coming together, new ways of people using or exchanging resources, and new ways of people helping each other to solve problems. So I'm a very firm believer, and I believe a lot of entrepreneurs out there share this belief as well, that innovation is at its very core, at its most essential piece. Innovation is problem solving. And when you think about what a company does, a company makes money. A company has a product or a service. And the reason why people are willing to pay money for a product or a service is because they find value in it, right? They find some kind of value to their lives that they're willing to exchange the value of their currency, their money, for this product or service. And when we're talking about social innovation, we're talking about how we are able to solve problems that ourselves and others are facing. And through that, we are creating value for others. And in the process of creating value for others, we are participating in an activity that we can exchange for some material value as well. This is the basic idea behind social innovation. This may be somewhat unclear for some people, and that's perfectly normal, perfectly natural, that it may be unclear in the beginning. If you guys have questions as I'm talking now, feel free to leave them in the chat window, and we'll have a Q&A section later on. And so feel free to leave some questions in the chat window for later as you think of them. Or you can always send me an email afterwards, and I can address your questions over email. For those of you who have WeChat as well, WeChat's another good way to get in touch. Okay, so let's hear from Titus. Titus, are you there?
Hey Nick, how's it going, buddy?
It's going all right. Good to hear from you. Yes, I can. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen sharing so you can turn on your camera, or you can share your screen, and I'll leave it to you. So let me just actually introduce Titus here really quickly. Titus is the co-founder of Divi Incorporated, the CEO of Divi Media, and a managing partner of Divi Capital. Titus was previously the COO of a company called KIP Solutions. And what KIP Solutions did was help college students connect with companies in Africa to help them market their products or services on social media. So it's a really cool way of using the resources that he had, right? Connections with college students, and using that to help other countries, people in other countries or companies in other countries around the world gain access to those resources which they needed, and create value in that way, and create a business around that. He also worked for an initiative for Michelle Obama at the White House, where he helped veterans to transition into new careers. And he's an officer in the US Army and currently lives in Los Angeles. So I hope I did you justice there, Titus.
Yeah, you did pretty well there. I just wanted to add, like, you can keep that visual aid up because I have nothing to share. What I'm going to do is just mainly verbally. But thanks for the great introduction there. It's funny to see that it says July 6th when I'm still like July 5th. It's like 5 p.m. here in Los Angeles. So you guys are already on. It's already Thursday there, I see, which is really cool. But anyways, thank you for inviting me to talk today. And I'm looking forward to, of course, being a part of this entire camp for the next couple weeks. I'm looking forward to, of course, meeting my team as well. And everyone that's on the call, I'd like to say that thank you for being here today as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys a little bit of background information about me, how I got involved in social entrepreneurship, and I'm going to like give you my own definition of social innovation, but I think that Nick, he pretty much covered pretty much all of it. I'm also going to talk about the importance of global cooperation and exchange to promote social goals around the world. And then we'll talk about like how global teams can be leveraged to advance social goals that like we all have a vested interest in. And I'll also give you guys tips on how you can get the most out of this, this program that you guys have decided to, of course, join and participate in. So a little bit about me. So I have a very interesting background. I went to a military academy for university. My senior year of that military academy, I actually got involved into entrepreneurship, a company called KIP Solutions. And what we were doing is we were actually leveraging college students around the United States to utilize their social media skills to help countries, not just in Africa, but we had like a company in India as well. Companies that are in third world, in third world countries gain access to, of course, support in the United States market. So we had like in East Cameroon, where they were using SMS technology to actually like tell farmers how to pretty much price their crops. They had no other way to do that. So they were just using simple technologies back then. And granted, this is like back in 2012 and 2013. And the other country, Well Water, like they're of course trying to create a system where women in India don't have to carry water on their head. So like they utilized us, of course, to get access to different conferences in the United States. And the number of companies that we work with were able to participate in conferences and actually get funded with US funds and actually create an entire distribution network here in the United States. So we leveraged a bunch of students from like UCLA, from University of Chicago, from my university, from, of course, some of the top universities in America We were able to pitch our company on the New York Stock Exchange for 2 years, in 2012, 2013. 2013, the company was acquired by a company in New York called Post and Beam, which was mainly a marketing agency. So we had a lot of fun with that company, and we actually got to, of course, exit it. But the little bit of fast forward to social innovation. When I was a part of that company, I was also a part of a community called Starting Block. And this is something that I definitely recommend if you guys are interested in traveling in the United States, to look into Starting Block. It's a community of social innovators who are all looking to, of course, work on a project that's actually solving a problem around the world, that is, it's the global problem. This kind of goes to the definition of social innovation. So when I think of social innovation, I think of, like, how do you solve a problem that's scalable, like a problem that we all face around the world? Because you never want to think small. You don't want to think just within your area. You want to think, all right, how do we solve a problem that is borderless? And when I think of social innovation, mainly because, like, I'm a part of the Kairos Society, are all, like, the mindset instantly goes to problems that we all share around the world. And I think that this is an excellent opportunity for you guys who are in China. I'm not sure if there are students here from the United States. Nick, are there any students from the United States, or is it strictly students in China?
Yeah, we actually have a whole bunch of students who are all together currently in the same space in Washington, D.C. So a bunch of kids in the U.S., yeah.
All right, so this is really important. So when it comes to social innovation, so I was just on a call the other day with one of my friends who is in, like, real estate. He's an entrepreneur in real estate, and he's actually leaving the United States because of, like, cultural differences. Like, he feels more at home in Europe. But the funny thing is that, like, when we had this conversation, we were coming at, like, these different, of course, problems from a different perspective. He was saying, hey, well, Americans typically think in a certain way compared to how Europeans think. Like, for instance, like, Americans are very much, like, upbeat about things, as well as, like, they're very focused on work. And there's not really a really great balance from his perspective with Americans and, like, their personal life. Everything's focused on work. Everything's high paced. And from my perspective, since I was like born in the United States, I felt like this is natural. Or, like, yeah, you should be, like, focused on work. You should be looking for opportunities to grow your company. And there's really no time to really, like, try to find that work-life balance when you're hustling at the beginning stages. So we came from a different mindset. And, like, we were able to, of course, approach problems from that different mindset. And now that you guys are going to be a part of a program where you have students that are in China and students that are in Washington, D.C., you guys are going to be able to, of course, identify problems in both of your communities, but approach those problems from a different mindset in a way. Like, when you think of, like, someone from Africa, they're probably going to approach a problem from a frugal mindset, while someone from the United States may approach a problem from a mindset of abundance because of just where they grew up. And both are tremendous advantages for a team. So that's one thing that I definitely think that you guys probably will have a great opportunity to leverage. But nonetheless, just to recap, I went all over the place right there. For me, social innovation is solving a problem for a community. So when it comes to business is all based on relationships. And if you can solve a problem for someone and you can, of course, make it better, like, maybe someone else is already solving that problem within your community. All you need to do is make it better. That's pretty much social innovation there. And that's what we're always looking to do. I know that I was recently talking to one of my mentors, and he was telling me the other day that, like, if you want to simplify, like, how to, like, create a company for the future, all you have to do is, like, what are you focusing on right now, and add artificial intelligence to it. Because if like, let's say that, like, you're a company that's focusing on customer acquisition, if you can add an artificial intelligence piece to it, then boom, you're already doing innovation within a space that, of course, will be around for quite a bit of time. Just quickly, another thing that I wanted to talk about, of course, is how you can, of course, leverage global teams to advance, like, social goals. So as you guys know, like, Nick and I, we're on the same team. We're doing different things, but we're also doing the same thing or in different areas. Nick is building, of course, Divvy Out in China, and I'm building Divvy Out in the United States. Both are totally different markets. And you can look at a number of examples, like with Amazon, like trying to move into China, and they failed because they tried to, of course, replicate a model that they used in the United States and that they've been pretty successful with in India, but the Chinese market is completely different. So the way that we leverage this problem is, hey, we're pretty much co-owners and co-founders of a company, but we're building companies within those markets from the bottom up. So it's not like, hey, we built a company in the United States and we're just trying to replicate it in China. No, at the same time, we're fully understanding our markets and we're building companies straight from the beginning in both of these countries. And technology gives us, of course, the ability to keep each other updated and to, of course, communicate with one another and to, of course, share what we've learned in these different markets with one another so that we can, of course, increase our own efficiency. So that's just a really good example of how remote teams can be used as an advantage when, like, you're trying to, of course, build something in two different markets. Definitely two markets that are the top economies in the world. That's something you can really take advantage of. And you guys are about to, of course, be introduced to an entire network of people in two different countries. So you can pretty much replicate what Nick and I are doing like right now by, of course, coming up with a solution for both of your communities, building, who knows, two companies or building one company that satisfies both of those markets. So that's definitely a way that you guys can take advantage of global teams to, of course, get the most out of this this experience. Moving forward to like tips for you guys to get the most out of this upcoming program. So one thing that like I'm really big on now is just taking time out and taking action. Don't get tied up on, I don't know, thinking that your idea is not good, or like you're just like cautious and not thinking, all right, hey, if I provide some sort of like insight to the group, that people are going to judge me. Like, and this is a learning environment. So my recommendation for all you guys is to take advantage of learning during this process, and don't think about what other people are going to think, because you may think your idea is stupid, but the person in another country might say, wow, that really resonates with my community, and boom, you guys can come up with the next big idea. Another thing is, don't get like tied up with I would say like with trying to like overthink things, because that's how you, of course, begin to stall and you're not actually getting stuff done. And I've been a victim of this. Is like, you know what, oh my gosh, I don't know if this is the right time to do it. Like, I just watched a video like a couple weeks ago, and the overall theme of the video is just like, do stuff and stop making excuses and stop, of course, thinking about all these different things that are irrelevant. Like, one of the main lines within that video is that you're not responsible for the world, you're responsible for your own work. And I think too many people look at what's going on in the world and they get distracted by that. And you shouldn't. You should only be focused on the things that's your work and do the best that you can do with your work, and not be fearful of taking those next steps. So my overall advice with this program is that you guys come into this program with the idea of learning, with the idea of failing a lot, with the idea, of course, being bold and challenging each other. But the ultimate goal is doing things and being proactive with one another. If you guys aren't proactive, you're not going to get much out of this opportunity. And I'm going to tell you, there's not too many people in the world. Like, I wish I was in high school and I was able to work with students from a different country and really like try to, of course, solve a problem like jointly. That would change my entire mindset of how to approach entrepreneurship as a young individual. So I think that you guys are starting off with a huge advantage than like where someone like in my shoes started off. And you guys have an opportunity to create a lot of value for people and create a lot of value for yourself. I don't know what the problems are in you guys' areas, only you guys do. Share those problems with one another. Make it become an issue where you guys are able to solve it. Like, if there's one person on the team that's like sharing all these problems with, of course, the entire team, and everyone else is silent, that person is going to be the person that's going to be the true entrepreneur, because you guys are all using your brain power to solve that person's problem within their community. And all they have to do, of course, is go and implement it. So my additional advice is share your problems so it becomes like, of course, a big conversation about, of course, how you solve more problems than just one in a particular area, so that everyone's, of course, gaining value from this experience. It's all up to you guys to actually make this experience worth the while. We'll give you the tools and resources, but you guys are going to be the ones who are going to have to, of course, be proactive with one another and be committed to, of course, the program and each other, so that like you guys are actually creating value for the world. It's a mindset. This is not a task. It's a way for you to learn. And it's a way for you to gain that mindset and leverage the resources that we're going to give you and leverage our knowledge in entrepreneurship, so that you guys are ahead of the game and that you guys are actually being, I don't know, the next leaders of the world. And yeah, like I said, we're there to support you. And if you have any questions for me, feel free to ask them. I'll be a part of the program as well. And I'm really looking forward not just to teach you guys things, but also for you guys to teach me something as well. You guys have a lot of knowledge that you guys may not know about, but we're going to do a really great job to try to, of course, get that out of you guys and try to help you guys and guide you guys in the right direction. Other than that, Nick, that's pretty much all I have right now. If I missed anything, please bring it up. I'm not sure if I did, but any other questions, feel free to ask them as well, Nick.
Awesome. Thanks, Titus. I think that was great. I really appreciate you sharing, and I think it's definitely been quite a fun experience so far working on different projects in different countries, and I think we've learned a lot from each other in that process, and definitely that's something that we'll keep learning from each other on in the future. So thank you again, Titus. I think Titus definitely shared a lot of really great ideas and really great concepts that we should remember as we go through the program. I think the first is that that we should be open with each other to share our ideas, and that we should maintain an environment and maintain a commitment to each other, that there are no stupid ideas, right? There are no bad ideas, that you guys can share anything with each other and give it time to think about it, right? And to actually, really go through it in your minds, and to exchange your reactions and exchange your perspectives. That this is an environment where we are learning together, and so we can share different ideas with each other, and that's a good thing. And when people disagree with our ideas, or when people have different opinions, that's just part of what makes our discussion unique and interesting. And so I think that's important to keep in mind. And another thing is that failure is okay. And failure is something that is a learning experience. We learn a lot of things from failure. So even if we have an idea and we try an idea and maybe it doesn't work, that is just an opportunity to learn how to maybe approach our next try, so that we're much more likely the next time to get it right. Every entrepreneur in the world, in fact, every person in the world who's ever accomplished something great, has experienced countless times more failure than that success. I promise you that. And so in this camp, as we work together with each other, let's keep that in mind, that it's okay to fail and we can learn from that. Obviously, we don't expect necessarily that everybody will come up with the next business idea that becomes a unicorn company, which by unicorn company I mean a company that is valued at $1 billion US. We don't expect that everybody's going to create a unicorn company here. What we do expect and what we do hope that you will receive from this program is you'll receive a really great learning experience, that you'll become more familiar with the concepts of innovation and what that means in terms of you being able to take action to address a problem in your community. So although we are using the terms like we're using the term business, we're using the term startup, the term entrepreneur, we're using entrepreneurship, we use these terms a lot. And I want to make clear, and I hope that everybody understands that while each of these concepts that we'll talk about, the methods and the processes we'll use throughout the program, have come from the startup world. They've come from Silicon Valley. They've come from years and years of entrepreneurs trying to figure out exactly what it is that makes a new business successful. They come from major companies like Microsoft and Google, and they come from all kinds of backgrounds and all over the world, and they have agreed that these are the ideas and concepts that drive forward new businesses. But as I mentioned before, we believe that innovation and the process of building a company is at its very core and at the most basic level, it's solving a problem. And so what we want to do is to help you as students and as people who are clearly concerned and engaged in your communities, engaged in your own futures, and who are passionate about doing things to help others, right? I know that because you probably wouldn't be in this program if you didn't feel that way, right? We want to help equip you with the tools that you need to be more successful at solving problems, to help you perhaps from maybe a sense of waiting and thinking that you have to wait until later before you can take action or before you can start working on the solution that you have in mind, to know that it takes many times, it takes in a sense, many failures, and it takes a long process of getting feedback and testing new ideas and not knowing whether things are going to work out, but still taking that risk because you believe in the solution that you may produce. You want to help this group of people that you're working with. That's what drives you forward, and it doesn't have to be in the form of a business. It doesn't have to be in the form of a company, right? It can be in the form of a student organization, a student club. It can be in the form of a WeChat group. It can be in the form of a community organization. Or it could simply be in the form of you as an individual working with your friends to go and work hard to help people in your communities without calling it any kind of organization. These are tools and methods, concepts and ideas that will help you solve problems. And through the course of solving problems, you'll be able to help others, you'll be able to help yourself, you'll be able to face new challenges with a mindset that helps you to identify the way to get over those challenges and to handle those challenges quickly. And so we feel that even if you're not going to be an entrepreneur later on, even if you're not going to start a company, even if you don't even want to study business, that these are the ideas and concepts that will help you in all kinds of areas of your lives. So don't be too afraid or turned off or hesitant to use some of the terms that we may bring into the program, like entrepreneur or startup, because these are things you can apply to other areas of your life. So you'll be evaluated for the program based on your participation, how you contribute to discussions and exchange ideas. So once you start meeting with your mentors next week, you'll be in much smaller groups. It'll just be between 4 to 6 students together with each mentor. And so you'll have a lot more opportunity to interact. You'll also be evaluated on the deliverables. And the deliverables, in most cases, will be what you submit in terms of your reflections and in terms of your notes and some answers to questions maybe from your mentor. And so there's no right or wrong answer to these. This is about how engaged you are in the conversations and the meetings, how much you think about these things and these ideas. what are you doing to try and use your previous experiences to add some new insight into the information or the concepts that you have talked about during the meeting, and share that with us in the form of your reflections and your notes. So the other part of the deliverables, there are two kinds. The first is what you'll do as a group. And so I mentioned when we walked through the schedule that you will define a customer problem, a user problem. You'll create a questionnaire and you'll collect responses from those potential customers. You'll create a value proposition canvas, which we will provide you with the templates for that, and we will provide instructions and guide you through that. You'll create a business model canvas, and then after you get some feedback from these customers, these potential customers, you'll create a second version of that business model canvas to incorporate the feedback. Then you'll create a landing page or mock-ups and a pitch deck. So these are all things that you'll do as a group. You may need to split up the assignments between each other to help contribute to that. You may be able to complete many of these things during the meetings themselves. A lot of you have found the annotations, like have found out how to write things on the screen or draw things on the screen. That's something you can use as a tool later on in the program to help to contribute to building some of these and completing some of these deliverables as a group. And then on your own, after each meeting, you'll submit your notes, your action items, which are those things that you'll have to do before the next meeting, and you'll submit a reflection. So thank you all for listening. And like I said, if you have any questions, please send me an email or contact me on WeChat, and I'll help answer those questions for you. So thank you all, and have a great rest of the day or night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.